Welcome back, everyone. This is Mark for Health and Fitness Over 40, and today we have a beginner's guide to nutrition. So here we are back again, and this is the first in our series of nutritional guides, and so being the first, it will be a beginner's nutrition guide. I'm doing this in response to a number of requests, and so it seems like the place to start. We're going to look at easy tips that you want to remember when you're first starting your nutritional journey. And number one, really super simple: chew your food slowly. And it does sound kind of obvious, but again, this is the beginners episode and we want to start with the basics first. There's a couple of reasons why you want to chew your food slow. First, as you chew, the body starts to produce saliva, and saliva acts as a kind of pre-digestion tool before it even hits the stomach, which obviously very cool. The second reason is because it can take time for your body to send a hormone, which is a chemical signaler called leptin, up to the brain to let it know that you are full. And this usually takes somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes. So if you chew too fast and you eat too fast, you are more likely to then overeat. So make sure you take your time and savor every last bite like it's your last. Now here's what I think is a really good question, a beginner's nutrition question, and that's: why are you eating? Let's get a little bit philosophical for a second. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, sort of, if you eat a whole jar of cookies all the way down to the bottom and stare into the void of the cookie jar stares right back at you. Yes, a loose quote. I doubt you'll find it exactly like that in a search. But what I'm trying to get at is remember why you're eating. And a lot of you may be going, well, I eat because I'm hungry. And yes, that's true, but you want to remember those calories. You want to remember those macros. You also want to think about your goals. You do sports. You're trying to lose weight. You're trying to gain weight. Remember why you're eating. So the next time you pick up those cookies, you may want to say to yourself, is this going to help me achieve, or will it take me further away from my goals? Next, know your macros. Calories are calories, right? Well, sort of, kind of, but not exactly. Now, a calorie is a calorie. It's just a unit of measurement, just as a kilogram is a kilogram. But the source of the calorie will have different metabolic effects. Now, these sources are what we call macronutrients, and there are three primary macronutrients, being protein, fats, and carbohydrates. 1 gram of protein and 1 gram of carbs is equal to 4 calories. And sadly, 1 gram of fat gives us 9 calories. which makes it the most energy dense macronutrient. Now we want to limit some fats, and these would be saturated fats. And we really want to avoid trans fats, which usually come from processed foods. It's good to include things like salmon, avocado, nuts, walnuts, almonds, etc. They will give us what we could term healthy fats. Right, moving on to carbs and proteins. Now, these have the same energy density as already mentioned, and it's 4 calories per gram. So let's cover protein first. Now, protein is comprised of amino acids, and they are mainly known as the building blocks of muscle. And that's true, but they also help the body in many other ways, such as building enzymes and hormones. And they also help with feeling more satiated, which just means feeling fuller for longer. Right, carbs. These are the main energy source for the body and the mind. And try to make sure that you have whole, healthy foods, at least, let's say, 80% of the time. Because remember, you are what you eat. Now let's keep it simple. In this internet and social media age, there's a lot of information out there. In fact, for those of us who do research, we can sometimes get somewhat overwhelmed because there's so much. An article could say that this food's great, and then the next day an article may say that same food is bad. So we have to be careful, and we have to cross-reference the information that they give us. Just be a little bit aware before we make too many claims about something. And there's a lot of trends as well, lots of diet trends like paleo, intermittent fasting, if it fits your macros, keto, the list goes on and on. What you want to do, especially early days, is keep it simple. What I recommend is use a TDEE calculator. That's your total daily energy expenditure, and I'll put a link in the description. So you find out your general calorie range and you begin to fulfill that using whole healthy foods. And you just play around a little bit with your calorie levels and your macronutrient levels. No two people are exactly the same, and you're going to find that range that suits you as you're going along. And it may take a few weeks, it may take a couple of months, it may take a year. But remember, this really isn't a marathon. It is a marathon, not a sprint. Take your time, stay consistent, keep it simple. Now, portion control. You, as many of us, have probably been ignoring portion control. Your stomach can and does stretch a bit, and you want to make sure that you're aware of how much you're stretching it. Are you stretching it just the right amount, or are you stretching it too much? The point is to be aware of how much you're eating. If you're still questioning how much, what you want to do is take out your dinner plate. I've got one. Hold it up and you make a fist here. And now remember, put that down again. Remember that your stomach is a bit smaller than your fist. So it's easy to get carried away with how much food we put on our plates. So make sure that you look at how much you put, how big your portions are. So what tends to happen is we can eat too much before our stomach has time to signal to our brain that we're full. So really think about that. Be mindful of it. And if you need to, make that fist. And if you keep getting it wrong, take that fist and punch yourself in the face. Sort yourself out. Finally, meal prep. I cannot stress how important this one is. You may have heard about it before and maybe you haven't tried it, but I highly recommend that you do. It's very simple. Grab yourself a slow cooker, whip yourself up some meals. Typically, most people will do them on a Sunday, but other days are just as good. Store the food in the fridge, and then you've got meals ready and waiting for the rest of the week. But just think about that. If you don't have anything prepared beforehand, it's easy to just go to the cupboard, grab something that's going to be quick, especially if you have a busy schedule, like if you're in college or university, or you have a full-time job and you have other things to do too, and your time is very limited. So with that prepping, you can plan everything out beforehand, and then all you have to do is open the fridge, grab the meal, and you're good to go. There you go. Beginner's Guide to Nutrition. Super simple, but it's your place to start. Now, for many of you, this list is going to be something that you've probably been following for some time, but hopefully it's given you a helpful reminder. And for those real beginners out there, you may now feel a little bit more sure of yourselves now that you've heard a couple of these tips. So, get out there, follow the tips as close as you can, and suggest some more beginners videos for the future. You've already suggested some really very good ones, which I am working on, but I'm always open to new ones. So until next time, you know what to do.